Hey there, fellow trekkers. I'm Linda, your park ranger, here to introduce today's adventure. You might hear me in the background as we navigate the trail together. Today, we're setting off from the trailhead for Canva, your first step on this exciting hike. If you're a beginner looking to get the lay of the land and learn how to use Canva as your ultimate graphic designer, you're in the right place. Canva is a design platform that allows you to create stunning designs like posters, videos, logos, social media posts, without the stress of learning a complicated design software. It also comes with features that are unique and free for teachers, like interactive whiteboards, worksheets, and Google Classroom integrations. As you explore, you can keep following the Canva Trail or blaze a new one. We've mapped out beginner, intermediate, and advanced trails for every level of EdTech hiker, covering a range of powerful classroom technology tools. Can't spot the next landmark on your journey? Check back soon. We're always adding new trails to explore. Even better, subscribe so you never miss a new path to discovery. Lace up your boots. It's time to hit the trail. All right, with no further ado, let's go ahead and get into getting started with Canva. I'm super excited. So my name is Linda DeYoung. I work at the LTC as our online learning program manager, which means that I just do everything online related. I do our podcast, I do our webinars, and I do our workshops like this one. Sometimes I'm working with other trail guides. Sometimes it's me. I have a huge love for Canva, and so I end up doing a lot of these Canva ones because I work in Canva a lot, doing video editing, marketing, different graphics for my online programs. And I also do all of our course design. So we have online courses at the LTC, and I create the curriculum for those, or I work with other people to do that. And then we go ahead and provide those online courses for others. So I will be your trail guide today, and here is what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to make sure that you have an account. And that shouldn't take too much time, so we'll get everyone started on the same page. And then we will navigate our home page of Canva. So what does the home page of Canva look like? How can you make the most of it? What do all the buttons mean? Then the majority of our time, we'll look at the design studio in Canva. And this is really where all the magic happens in Canva. It's where you create the thing you're trying to create. So we'll look at those design tools and give you some tips and tricks for how to start using them, because they have a lot of bells and whistles. And so, we won't cover everything today. We'll just cover the very basics of how to start using that. And then finally, we will cover how to share and download your creations, because of course, once you make something, you have to have a way to download it so that you can use it and share it with others. Otherwise, it just kind of sits there. So that's what we're going to be working through today. Let's go ahead and get into the first one, which is to create your account. So if you do not currently have a Canva for Education account, good news is that it is free. It's free for educators, and it provides you all of their premium features for free, which is incredible. Normally, you'd have to pay to get access to some of like the templates, the stickers, the services, the apps, that kind of stuff. But with the Canva for Education account, you basically get all of it or most of it for free. So if you already have a Canva for Education account, I'm going to have you go ahead and log into that account. If you do not have a Canva for Education account, I'm going to have you visit canva.com/education, and you're just going to sign yourself up for a free educator account. So the next thing that we're going to do is look at our home page. So Canva has a front page that when you log in, you see it. It's called your home page. This is what it looks like. This is a screenshot I took of my home page. And so I'm going to walk you through some features of your homepage. And like I said, as I'm walking you through them, if you have yours pulled up, it's helpful to kind of navigate like, oh, there's where this is, there's where this is. So the very first thing is on the left-hand side, you have a bunch of buttons. And we can't go over all the buttons today because there's quite a bit. So what I did was I highlighted in green the 3 buttons that I think you'll probably use the most. So at the very top, we have create a new design from scratch. That's where you'll go if you're like, okay, I don't want to use a template. I just want to get going. I know what I want to make. It's a poster. It's an 8.5 by 11. You'll go there, click the plus button, and that'll get you into the creation, and it'll ask you what format you want, etc. The second one is just the home button. So if you're ever navigating around Canva and you're like, well, I just want to go back to my home. I just want to go back to my designs, that home page, you'll click on home and it'll take you right back. Projects is where you can go to create folders. Now, I put this in blue because I think it's a little clunky and I don't use it a lot, but maybe you will. So similar to like Google Drive, you can put your designs in folders. I don't think it's very intuitive to do that, but you certainly can. And if it works for you, more power to you. And then finally, I think the one that you will use a lot moving forward is probably the templates button as well. So instead of just creating a blank design with a specific size, Canva has thousands of templates to choose from. And that's a place where you can start using templates. Then if we keep going down that left-hand side, we have your brand, your Canva AI, your apps, and your classwork. Some quick notes on those because I think you'll use them less if you're a beginner. Brand is about creating your own brand. So that will be where you could like put in your school colors, your brand colors, your logo, your classroom colors, etc. And then everything you can like customize it all to your brand. So that's a great one to use if like you run a club and you have your school colors, you can create a brand template and then that's easy to just pop into every design that you create because it'll automatically update all the colors to your school colors, etc. Canva AI is an awesome new tool that they just added. It's using AI to create designs. I actually have another session on Canva AI that I'll share at the end of this session. So if you are like loving today's session and you want to learn more about Canva AI specific, that would be a great one to attend. Apps is where you can add specific new apps to your Canva Design Studio. So Canva has all kinds of apps that allow you to do new and interesting things. Like one of the apps is like a mock-up app. So you can, drop a picture into like a picture frame, or you can drop a picture into a book cover. And so it mocks up like a design like you would see, or you could drop like a picture onto a mug and then it mocks it up for you. So that's just one additional app that you can add into your Canvas Studio. Again, if you're like, I'm interested in these apps, I want to learn more, you can head over to our YouTube channel and we do have a Canva app video that you could watch. And then finally, classwork. This is brand new. So if you are a person who wants to use Canva to create worksheets, activities, lessons, etc., I would recommend just clicking on that tab and signing up for the beta. So right now it's in beta, meaning that it is not fully fleshed out. It's not fully ready to go. But if you click this classwork tab, you should have an option to sign up for beta. And maybe they took that away. Maybe now you just have access to it completely. But if you do not have access to it, I would recommend clicking and signing up for beta because that's going to allow you to go in there and play with it and kind of mess around with it. Just know it might be still a teeny bit clunky because they're not ready to fully roll it out as like everyone gets access to this. But a good tip if you want to like play with it before it is released to the public. All right, so that is going to be your left-hand side on your homepage. Those are all the tabs that you can go in and kind of play around with. Again, I think create, home, and templates are going to be where you live mostly if you are a beginner. All right, next, you have this big pink splash page at the top, and this is your search bar. So it is very important with your search bar that you toggle to where you want to search. So for example, if I'm on my homepage, I can choose to search my designs, which are things I've created. So let's just say Tech Treks. I click it, and here is everything I've made for Tech Treks, which is this web series. So that is in my designs. These are things I've already made. However, let's say that you're starting with something and you want a template of some sort. So when I toggle over to Tech Treks on templates, notice that it gives me a bunch of hiking templates in different formats. So this one looks kind of like a badge. This one's like a social media post. This might be like a presentation. And so those are Canva's templates. Those are ones that you can pull into your own designs, and then that'll show up in your designs once you've pulled them over. So for example, if I click on this one and I click customize this template, then when I go back to my homepage, I will see that it exists in my recent designs. So it now has added that to my Canva. And then finally, you have this little button called Canva AI. Again, we're not going to get into that today, but if you are interested in that idea, we will be getting into that in a future workshop. So from there, you can search, and then right below that, you have this ability to create any type of design. And it's very similar to your create button here. So if I am looking at my homepage, you'll see that I can create just right off the bat a sheet, a doc, a whiteboard, a presentation, versus if I go to create, I can also create the same thing here. So sheet, a doc, a whiteboard, etc. So they basically serve the same function, but this just provides an easy way for you to click on the format that you would want and just have it make it right then and there. Now, the one that I use a lot is this one called custom size. And this allows you to create either, doc sheets, etc. And then at the bottom, you have this custom size, and you can create your width, your height in inches, in pixels, whatever you need for that. So I use that a lot. If there's like a specific size that I need for something, I'll go in there and make that size. And then finally, on your homepage, the last thing that you should note is that these are all your recent designs. So these are all the things that you have created. These are all the templates that you have opened and used, and they're just in a scrolling wall. And so I've had people ask me, like, can you have folders on your homepage, like your recent designs? Can you put these in folders so that it's not just a wall? And unfortunately, the answer is no. I wish that would be amazing. That would be my preference, but unfortunately, that is just not how it goes. So really, this is just like a scrolling wall, and it is organized from the last design that you opened. So if you were working on something, you opened it, you were working on it, it's going to be near the top. And then as you open more things and work on more things, it's going to get pushed down, and those things are going to come to the top. So that is our homepage. Let's go ahead and move on to our next step, which is going to be the editing studio. And to do this, I'm actually going to have you create a design, because that's going to get us into the editing studio. So just like we talked about with the homepage, we're going to go over here to custom size. Custom size. And for the sake of today, we're going to be making a Google Classroom banner. However, if you don't have Google Classroom, feel free to modify this size with like your LinkedIn banner or something similar. Or if you just want to design it with us and then use it for something else later, that's totally fine. But for a classroom banner, we're going to be working in pixels. So your unit's going to be in px, and we're going to do a 1600 by a 400 pixel design. So you'll type 1600, 400, and create a new design. Ta-da, there you go. That is the size of your Google Classroom banner. So when you put this into Google Classroom, it will be exactly the size that you will need. It won't zoom in weird. It's not going to like crop it weird. It's going to be exactly this size. Now, if you're a person who's like, I don't have a Google Classroom, maybe you have a LinkedIn, I would just type LinkedIn banner size on Google and it will tell you it is, 1584 by 396 pixels. You can pop that in instead. Or if there's a different size that you'd rather do, you can also do that. All right, so from here, I'm going to show you the basics of the editing studio, and then we're going to get into creating. So from the editing studio, there's basically 4 areas that you need to pay attention to. And I'm going to go through each one, and then we'll play together so that you can learn the tools. So the very first one is what I like to call your top bar. That's going to be your blue bar at the very top that has those Canva blues. That's going to be where you can download your design under share. It's going to be where you can rename your design. It's going to be where you have your undo and redo buttons. So that's going to be in your top bar. Then there's your sidebar. That's on the left-hand side. This is where you're going to get all of your elements. So that'll be like your stickers, your images, your graphics, your text, your media. Some places that I think are helpful are the Elements tab. That's going to be like stickers, graphics, the text where you can add fonts and text. And then finally, the uploads where you can upload your own media. That's really helpful if you have like a photo or a video or an audio clip that you want to pull into Canva. You'll go to that upload button to upload whatever you have on your computer. Then you have the bottom bar. I like to call it the bottom bar. And really the only thing as a beginner that I would focus on there is that you can zoom in and out of your design with this little slider. And you can also change your view to a pages view versus a non-pages view where you're just scrolling. So if I toggle on pages, for example, I can see here's page 1 and I can add another page, page 2, page 3, page 4, and they're all going to be in that classroom banner size. Right now, we're not going to go into it, but you actually can add multiple types of files in the same Canva design. So you could add like, a sheet or a doc. When you click just the plus button, you're going to get multiple of that Google Classroom banner. So you can see I'm adding pages and it's the same size across all the pages. I can zoom in and out like this. So you can work really detailed on the canvas if you want, or you can zoom out to kind of see what it looks like. And then finally, the last one is going to be your editing bar. Now, right now, you might not see anything that looks like an editing bar. However, if I go back here and I click on my design, just the blank canvas, I get some options. I get like a color option to change my background color. I get this button called position, which allows you to look at all your layers, all your stickers, all your graphics. It's a really, really helpful place to go, especially if you're moving things around. So whenever you click on an element, it's going to open a unique editing bar for that element. So for example, if I put in some text, notice that when I have the background toggled, I'm given options for background color, for position, etc. When I have the font toggled, then that editing bar changes and I'm able to change the type of font. I'm able to change the color of that font. You can see that here's my brand kit. So if you have like a brand kit, you could pop that in there and get your brand colors, which would be like your school colors. I can bold it, I can italicize it, underline it, everything you can normally do with text. I have the ability to do when I have the text highlighted. However, if I toggle off of the text, that editing bar is going to change again. So it really is all dependent on what you have highlighted. And that is the basics of your editing studio. You have your top bar, your sidebar, your bottom bar, and your editing bar. Now, as we design, I'm going to refer to them as that. So if I say like go to the top bar, that's what I mean. If I go to say go to the sidebar, go to the editing bar, these are the different places that I'm asking you to go and change stuff around. So let's go ahead and get into actually creating, because that's the best way to learn how to use Canva basics. I'm going to have us create a Google Classroom design that looks something like this. So what this is going to walk us through is how to add photos, in a frame. Like you can see myself, I'm in like a little circle frame, how to add stickers, how to add text, and then how to change the colors on those different elements, how to change the color of the text, the font, how to do, different colors on the stickers. So we're going to just walk through this together, and that should get us pretty much to the end. We'll talk about sharing and we'll close out today's session. So let's go ahead and make this banner. And again, feel free to modify it in the way that is best for you. So I'm going to go to my blank design, get rid of that. I'm going to go to my blank design. And the first thing I want is an image in the background. So I'm going to go over here to my elements. And I'm going to type in some sort of photo that I want. And you'll see I scrolled down here. So I have like recently used, shapes, etc. If you scroll, eventually you should find photos. And I'm going to go to see all on those photos. So now I'm in the photo area of Canva. From there, I'm going to search photos. So I am doing art because I have a degree in art. So I'm just going to put in paint. And I get all these different photos of painting supplies. Maybe you're an English teacher and you put in something like Shakespeare. I was an English teacher. I have my degree in art, but I was an English teacher as well. And I love teaching Shakespeare. So maybe I got some Shakespeare here, or maybe I'm a history teacher. You could even just type history and see what you get. Got some interesting like books and maps and stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull over one of these images by just either dragging it onto the canvas or simply clicking. So I'm just going to click. And there it is. It appears on my canvas. Now I'm going to go ahead and resize this so I can drag this photo around. I'm going to resize it so that it is covering my background, like the entirety of my background. So that might require me to pull my my corners a little bit to make it fit this background. And from there, you can just adjust it wherever you think is best. So I'm going to go ahead and just put it like this. Looks great. And if I wanted to clean this up a little bit as well, I could actually take these little sliders on the top and just kind of crop this so that it is not so overwhelmingly big. So I might crop it like that, and we're good to go. This is really where that zoom comes in handy for me, because I can like zoom in, zoom out to like grab my photo, crop it, etc. Now, let's say that you did not like that image anymore. Let's say you keep working on it and you're like, I don't know if I love that anymore. Fun fact, you can actually replace that image pretty easily. So instead of like deleting it, going in, recropping it, what I'm going to do is take a different image, this one, and instead of just clicking, I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to drag it over, and notice how it at some point it snaps into my image. So again, it snaps, and you kind of play around with it for a minute just until it snaps. And there it's back in that original size that I had. So no need to delete, no need to like go in and recrop. It just snaps into that image. From there, I can double click and move it around as needed. And again, if I want to crop that differently, I can double click, move it around as needed. And there I have my image. Alrighty. So next we're going to add a banner using a shape across this image, so that way we have a place for the text to go that's not too overwhelming. Sometimes like really busy backgrounds, it needs a little bit of place to breathe for the text. So to do this, I'm going to go back to elements. And right now, notice I'm in photos, and I don't want to be in photos. I want a shape. So I'm going to go out of photos by clicking the back button on the photos, like right next to photos, there's a little back arrow. I'm going to click that. And then if I scroll around, I should see a header in my elements that says shapes. If I go there, I can click see all. I can see all the shapes that are available. There's some lines there. I'm going to just choose the rectangle or the square. So it's that first option for me. I'm going to click it and it's going to add a square to my canvas. Now notice that when I have that square highlighted, my bar changes to be all about that square, my editing bar. So from there, I can change the color. I'm going to change it to white, but you can change it to black, to blue, anything that you think will be good for text to sit on. And remember, if you make it black, you can make the text white or yellow. If you make it dark blue, you can make it white. If you make it pastel yellow, you can make it black or a different dark color. So really you can make that bar any color that you like. So I'm going to change mine to white. I can also add a border around that square. So I could do like a dotted line, a regular line. Maybe I'll try doing just a plain line. And when I click that option, there's a little wheel for stroke color that shows up on my editing bar. So again, if I have stroke weight off, it's not there. But if I turn on the stroke, then it is there. I can go into the color. I can add a color. I can even round the corners of this square. So if I wanted to round the corners, let's say, I wanted it to be pretty round, I could round those corners as needed. And there's even some font options in there. And that's really because you can add text directly into that square, but you do not have to. We can add text on top of it later. I had a question. Where do you find the border at? So when I click on this, there's these like 3 lines that say stroke style. And when I click on stroke style, it gives me options for like a bold line, a dash line, a dotted line. So that's where I go to find that stroke. So for now, I am going to take this square, this rectangle, and I'm actually going to drag it all the way across so that I have a little bit of that color showing out the top and the bottom, that image in the background. But if you are a person who just likes it to be like this, maybe kind of more centered, you could do that. If you have a different vision for how you want that to look, also totally fine. You can follow along as much or as little as you want of what I'm doing on my screen. And the last main building block of this that we're going to add is the text. So I'm going to click on my sidebar, I'm going to click on the button that says text. And right away, you should have some options there where it says add a heading, add a subheading, add a body text. I'm going to go ahead and click add a heading because it's going to be big to start. And I want this to be kind of big. So I'm going to click add a heading and it's going to pop that text in. Now from there, I put in welcome to art class, period 1, Mrs. DeYoung in my original, but you can really put anything you want for text there. You could put the name of the class, journalism 101. You could put a message like, I'm so happy you're here. It really can be anything you want. So I'm going to put welcome to art class. And of course, from there, I can change the size, the font type, the color. I can bold it, I can italicize it, I can underline it, I can do all kinds of things here. I have the ability to add bullet points, etc. So we're just going to do a couple of these, but I'd recommend you go in and play with it as you keep using Canva. So the first thing we're going to do is change the text. So I'm going to go to Canva Sans is what my text is right now. I'm going to click that. And I find it helpful to put in a type of font that I'm looking for to start. So if I want like a handwritten font, or if I want a bold font, I could put in bold, and it's going to give me some options for some bold fonts down here. So I'm just going to pick one for the sake of time. Beautiful. And of course, that's a little bit small, so I'm going to go to font size and I'm going to pop it up bigger. There's also these handy plus and minus buttons that'll help you just like pop the font up and down just one. So it's helpful sometimes if I'm like, oh, just a little bigger, I can go boop, boop, and it goes up a couple font points. Of course, you can change the text color. So if I wanted that to be, instead of black, if I wanted it to be blue, I could. Now, the way that you get unique colors, because right now I just have my document colors. These are ones that are already in the document. I have my brand colors. I have my photo colors down here. I have some default colors. But if I really want to pick my own color, I go to this little plus button, add a new color. And then I go in here and start scrubbing around. So like, let's say I want to be blue. I go into the blues. I can pick any type of blue that I want and scrub it around until I find the one that I like. And I'm going to call that good for my main text. Then I'm going to go back into the text button and I'm going to add a subheading, and I'm going to just drag that underneath my original heading. Note that Canva has some snapping grids, which is very helpful, where it'll snap it. If I like hover over, it'll go, oh, that's the middle of that text, right? That's the middle of the canvas. That's the middle of that text so that it's all aligned. And from there, I'm just going to put in my name, Mrs. DeYoung, period 1. You can put any kind of subheader you want there. I'm going to pop the font up a little bit, and we are good to go on that font. So if you have one of your font toggled on, let's say I want to move this to be more in the center because it's a little off center right now, but I also want to move that subheader at the same time. I can click that font and then hold Shift on my keyboard, click the other font. Notice that both of them are now highlighted. From there, I can group them using this little group button, or I can simply move them so that they're centered. And notice that it locks using those grids. So I can move it so it's centered, good to go. So yes, if you want to move multiple things at once, instead of moving them one by one and recentering them and realigning them, which can take a lot of time, click what you want, click Shift, click the other elements you want to move, and then you can move them all at once, or you can group them if that's easier. All right, the last thing we're gonna do is kind of add those like elements like my face, some stickers to really make it like pop. Before we do that, I wanna just quickly mention one of the things that people who are beginning on Canva are really irked with is that sometimes things get lost behind other things. Elements get lost. So for example, oh no, it's lost, right? The text is behind this rectangle. It's super confusing. So do I have to move the rectangle out of the way to get to the text and then move the text and then move the rectangle? You do not. And I would recommend not doing that. It takes a lot of time and it messes up your design. So I'm going to undo all that. Instead, if this is stuck behind an element, go to that handy dandy position button and make sure that you're in the tab called Layers. And from there, I can click and drag my text above my rectangle. Now it's back. So I've rescued it from beneath that rectangle. And that's a very helpful way. Like if something's not behaving the way you want because it's hidden behind something else, go to Position, go to Layers, and find out where it is in the layers and drag it up to the top as much as you can. So again, I could drag this all the way to the top if I just want to like make sure it's right at the top. It's not hidden behind anything. I can move it. So great tip. Because otherwise it just takes so much time to like move things out of the way, move other things back, rescue it. It's just so much time. So that's hopefully a quick way to kind of fix that issue. All right, we're going to do two more things in this Google banner. The first is that we're going to add a frame, and the second is that we're going to add some stickers. So I'm going to go into Elements, and I'm in Shapes right now, so I need to click the back button. And I'm actually going to search in Elements the word frames. And when I search for frames, I get this category called frames. I'm going to click See All. And from there, I'm going to choose a fun frame. You can choose a triangle, you can choose a circle. I would say don't get too crazy with it because you're going to like put your face in it or someone's face in it. So it needs to be able to still look like a face. But I'm going to pick like this fun little curvy Q one. And I'm going to put it right here in the corner so that I can put my face in it. Now, obviously, my text now is like kind of overlapping there. So I'm actually going to resize this text a little. There we go. Oop, not that. I'm going to resize that text a little, move it all down, and call it a day. So I'm going to put a little frame here. Now, what frames do is that they crop your image to whatever the shape of the frame is. So if you did a star and you pulled an image in there, it would crop it into a star. I put a little curly Q looking circle, so it's going to crop it into that shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Uploads, and you can you can pick your poison here. If you have an image of yourself, like you as a teacher, already saved on your computer, I would go ahead and upload that image of yourself. If you do not have an image that's easily accessible of yourself, you could definitely do it later, pull an image in, or if you just don't really want to put an image of yourself, you can go back to Photos and you can go ahead and pick a photo to snap in there. So I'm going to show you both. So I'm going to go to Uploads and I'm going to click Upload Files. And from there, I'm going to find an image of myself and I'm going to upload that image. Then I'm going to take that image, which I'm going to find my good one down here, but I'm going to take that image and I'm going to hold it and drag it until it snaps into that frame. So notice how here it's not snapped, here it is snapped. So I'm snapping it into the frame. There I am. And if I want to crop it inside that frame, I'll double click it just like we did earlier, and I can drag it so that it's just my face. Yay! There's my face. However, if you do not want to upload an image of yourself or you don't have one available, I'm just going to go back to Elements. I'm going to X out of my search so that I'm no longer in frames. I'm going to scroll down to Photos, See All, and I'm going to search in my photos for art. And maybe I really like this image here of these pencils, and I'm going to drag that in instead. So now I have some pencils, very fun little image there. All right. And then the last thing we're going to do is add some stickers. This is where I feel like people really love it because they love adding stickers. I get it. It's super fun. So I'm going to go back out of my photos and I'm going to go up to the top to graphics because graphics are what like your stickers are like. So I'm going to go to graphics and from there, I'm going to search. So for me, I'm going to put paint. And I'm going to search and oh my goodness, look at all of these painting stickers that I have access to. And then I just click to add them. So maybe I really like this little, rainbow one. I can rotate it down here. I can make it bigger and smaller. I'm going to put that in the corner. Beautiful. My toolbar at the top gives me the option to change all the colors. So if I didn't like these colors and I wanted to change them into different colors, I can. And that's great if you want to have like the exact same colors across the entire design. But I'm going to leave them for now. Note that some stickers do not allow you to change colors. So it just depends on the sticker. It depends on the graphic, but this one, it looks like will allow me to. So I could go in, for example, and change that blue to a darker blue, and that's not a problem. So I'm going to add that rainbow. I'm going to go and add some little art supplies here. Boom. Beautiful. And then I think I'm going to call that good. Like add a couple stickers, call it a day. Let's go ahead and finish up. So the last thing you're going to want to do is obviously download your design. And it is a little bit confusing because a lot of people go, why isn't there just a download button? Where is the download button? Totally understandable. It is actually called share. So on Canva, your share button is your download button. So when you click share, notice that you have a lot of options for what you can do. And we're not going to cover all of these today, but just, if you wanted to like Google these in the future, it'll tell you everything you can do with them. You can present these slides. You can actually assign this to your students if you want your students to start working in Canva. There's lots of things you can do. But for our purposes, we're going to click download. And when I click on download, I have some options for files. Now for you, you're going to want to do either a JPEG or a PNG. I suggest a PNG. However, if you have like a video, you're going to want to download that in MP4 video. Or if you have a PDF and you want to send this as a PDF, you would click PDF. So just make sure it has the file type that you want. Again, if it's an image, probably PNG. And then from here, you'll select your pages if you have more than one page. Now, most of you might just have one page right now, but if you made one for period 2, period 4, period 5, then you'd have multiple pages. So I just go in and I click current page, or I'll click this specific page I want. So for me, I want page 1, and I'll click done. And then I'm going to click download. And when I click download, it'll pop up here and say it's downloading. You'll see it's right here as well. Oh, this is downloading. It's in my downloads. If I click on this, you can't see it because I'm in Zoom, but it has it there. All right. So that is pretty much it, but I hope you found today's session helpful. Thank you so much for being here with me. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you feel like you can get into Canva now and start creating some pretty incredible things. We'll see you on the next hike.